I do want to stay with that topic, the cooperation of you and Magnus, and obviously the preparation for the match and how that came to be. Um, how did that come to be? Who contacted first? Of course, you don't have to divulge anything if you don't want to, but how did that cooperation came to be? Because you were kind of
Yeah,
like
it's
the
not.
wild, let's say, the dark horse in their team. Like we didn't know about you going into that match.
Yeah, no, there is nothing secret there. I think I got to know him a little personally when we played the World Cup in Georgia, and I think, I mean, of course, we knew each other. We played like a couple of games before, but I think we like barely shared the word before that. And then, yeah, then after he was out, he lost against Busenji. Yeah, I think I won exactly the same day, and like the very next day was supposed to be the day of tiebreaks, so I had a free day, and he was out. And like for some reason, but this is again, I was young and optimistic. Yeah, now I mean, I don't see myself doing this. Also, there is nothing wrong with that. It's just that like a completely different thing can cross your mind when you're like young. I simply approached him for no reason and sort of offered him to play some blitz with basically zero introduction and yeah, for basically no reason, just because I like to play blitz a lot. And I actually think that the whole idea of blitz making harm to your play is, I mean, at least questionable.
It's nonsense. Yeah,
There's,
yeah.
there's of course a limit, but generally I don't think playing like 10 to 16 blitz games a day, like not bullet games, but blitz games a day, really hurts you. Play even when you're playing classic or tournament. I mean, I did this many times. I mean, it could go very well, it could go wrong too, but it kind of, for me, it kind of makes sense. And yeah, for some reason he said yes, and we just played like 30 minutes later. I think we played like in his hotel room. Yeah, I mean, okay, we talked. There were some jokes and stuff. He seemed to be sort of surprised a little bit with my level. Like, of course, I lost, but like I was not even close to being crushed. Yeah, and then I think a few months after that, they invited me to some camp, which I think I had a fantastic reason to say no. I simply told PH, like I didn't even come up with some like fake excuse. I simply said I'm going to have a vacation, you know, maybe next time. Yeah, I mean Magnus will not go anywhere, so which I think
That's
made an
pretty.
impression.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, okay, I mean, a vacation is planned. Yeah, I mean, I didn't have the tickets even back then, but I had a plan. Yes, so you know, Magnus can wait. And then yeah,
Do you
then
feel like that enticed him even more to get you on the team? That refusal.
yeah, maybe. But then yeah, then they actually invited me to be part of the team for the match against Fabi. So there was nothing in the middle. And yeah, of course, it was out of the blue for me. Yeah, and I said yes, and it turned out to be a win-win, I think, in the long run.
How's a typical day in a Magnus camp? Like, what do you guys do? Because obviously the stories are that there's a lot of allocated time to sports, right? Like 80% of the time, you play sports, you chat, you play blitz, you have a good time, and then you guys work a lot outside of that. But Magnus is a little
Yeah,
bit
it's
more
basically
jumpy, let's
true.
say,
But
between topics.
first of all, there are two kinds of camps in Magnus team, and let's say, I mean, at least I don't know, 33%. We would normally have without him, which would always lead to basically only looking at
Those
chess.
are more serious, yeah.
Those are more lazy, I would say. I mean, it's hard to convince Mr. Gustafsson and Mr. Hessene to go play football when there is no Magnus to push them, yeah? And yeah, we would basically just look at chess. What I liked a lot is that I think this is how, like, generally, this is how things should be done. Is that, like, normally, at least for me, like, I would be given some big topic, and I would be given, like, at least a couple of days, sometimes more, to sort of get a clue. And for this, like, 3 days, basically, nobody bothers you. you can just say, all right, I'm on it, and like I'm working on it. Then like 3 days later, you can think, all right, maybe I have a little idea on what's going on there. But then again, we're actually talking about 2018.
Yeah,
I
things
mean,
were
it's
different.
yeah, I mean, completely different tensions. Yeah, because like I remember looking at this like Rosalimos and Sveshnikov's, like especially with 95. I actually remember when I came to the camp, like the first thing I said to them that like 95 is actually the main worry, like in the Sveshnikov, which back then was, as Fabi probably remembers, it was kind of far from obvious. Now it's like a must and
It's
basically
not obvious at
as
all.
only a temple white. Back
I mean, it
then, I
wasn't
think there
obvious
were like,
that,
yeah,
like that we should go for Sveshnikov. Even this was like a big decision, like that we can actually go in this direction. I was thinking, okay, Rosalimo is just the way at the start. Like
mhm.
before the match, Rosalimo is the way for like first few days of the match. And then at some point it was like, okay, maybe this 95, it really is the direction. I think things have even changed a lot since then, theoretically, but even that just that like realization was quite a big one.
Yeah, but I had it like few months before. Actually, back then it was very fresh. I think there were like few games of your actually current second Oparian,
Against
but it
Gelfand,
was
yeah.
like, yeah, but it was like really fresh, I think. And yeah, I had this feeling too that actually Zengen would be happy with black, but yeah, I mean, I started to feel like it's actually way more tricky than people think. Yeah. So in that sense, we were prepared. I mean, of course, it was hard to be ideally prepared for 95, but at least we had like a very certain clue that yeah, 95 is a very big move, and it's just as serious as Rosalimo. But it's kind of funny, like looking back at like at this match, it's kind of funny how like stupid we were and like engines were, and say like this thing that Magnus played in the first Rosalimo with 97. Like I came up with it, but also I came up to the realization very early that it only makes sense if you include the stupid h3.
Yeah,
And
which was the common wisdom,
yeah,
right?
which was the main move back then. And I remember like at the session I would ask them, okay, but why h3? Why do they go h3? No, h3 they will go, that's the main move. If you're good with h3, we're good. I was like, okay, I'm good with h3, but what if they do something else? Okay, we'll figure it out. Then I was actually the one to figure it out during the match. Then this queen c7 happened, yeah. But like even with queen c7, yeah, I think like first there was this like bishop g7, queen c7. Then at some point at night, I actually realized it kind of makes sense to go queen c7 with a bishop on f8 in order to try to get this good Berlin, yeah. If you get a7 e5, you never go bishop g7 after that. But yeah, generally we were all a bit naive, yeah. Like I remember at some point we found out this like in the Rosalima with queen c7 exactly, we found out that actually a4 followed by knight fg2 is very strong. And I remember like we had to send the files like few hours later, and PH started panicking like, okay, we're busted here. Yeah, I mean it goes to like 040. And like I had like literally maybe 40 minutes to come up with this like knight h6 f5, which actually I think it still remains like the only sort of acceptable reaction for black. And then we were like, okay, at least we were not losing by force. But yeah, generally it was a lot of joy, I have to say. I mean it did feel like sort of like an intellectual competition in some sense. I mean the prep part, and you could surprise us, and we could surprise you, and it was interesting, you know.
Yeah, I think that this is a little bit lost these days. Like
Yeah,
now it's become very practical, like everything's very fast. You just like prep things extremely quickly and you try to remember them and try to find some small idea that nobody has come up with, even if it's complete bullshit. Well, then it was really like trying to come to the truth of things. In opening wise, of course. I mean, still the actual game after the opening more or less remains exactly the same. But from opening point of view, like we were just sitting down and we were very proud when we found some like new direction, which now of course would just be shown absolutely instantly, and like the human
exactly. Yeah,
element is completely taken out. There's almost no discovery left. Only the discovery is like some maybe what did they not analyze or what don't they know, even if it's crap and the computer solves it in like 5 seconds. Okay, maybe still they won't know it and people screw up over the board. But like when I found this, when I played against Magnus in QGD early on, this Rook D8,
Rook,
like
yeah.
I was super proud when I found this one, and then it also worked out like extremely well over the board as well. But yeah, this like opening phase has changed so quickly, and so I mean I think 2020 was the year when it really kind of shifted dramatically.
Yeah.
Were you guys
Also,
using
everybody needs a
anything
lot of time
else?
actually to look at things with Lila.
Exactly. Were you guys
And
using Lila at that point, or were you just like stuck on Stockfish?
I think the match was like few
Before the
months
match,
after.
because we were using it a little bit before the match, but we weren't really trusting it too much.
I think we did use it, yeah, but we sort of used it like in order to look for ideas. But I mean, again, we were not too
Yeah, I think we were
like
exactly
too
the same.
sure.
Yeah, more or less.
But
the
it was
same.
actually funny that like back then you could actually have this like weird positions that like Stockfish would evaluate as like 0.70 and Lila would go like minus 0.20. And then when you let them play, like they play like for sort of games, you kind of choose directions. Then like it finishes like 2-2 in terms of opening battle, and you're still not sure. Like especially in the Jerusalem, I remember there was or this 95 Sveshnikov. Yeah, Lila would always see this like kingside potential for black. I mean, it would always see it from far away, unlike Stockfish.
Yeah,
And
I thought this was very interesting.
yeah,
Like when we, because it was like the first version of Leela. Basically, it would blunder mate into
yeah.
sometimes. It couldn't win
Stalemates,
looking
mates.
against,
Yeah.
no, it would blunder pieces like consistently. But some positions, it would evaluate as like significantly higher. Let's say you would get some kind of like French structure. Leela would say 0.8, Stockfish would say, zeros or minus 0.2, whatever.
Yeah,
And
something like that. Yeah.
then like you play through the moves, and then eventually you come to the point where you're like, okay, I understand exactly why Leela was correct from the beginning. And okay, now we should make sure that it doesn't blunder any pieces. But more or less, this was helpful for our understanding. Although I didn't get too much into like analytical part with this, because this was, I think we started using it only maybe 3 weeks before the match started, maybe a month.
No. We used it, I think, during the summer as well.
No, you're like we definitely only used it
Am
in
I
the last camp
misremembering?
after the Olympiad. Yeah, for sure. So
Maybe.
it was like, and then during the match, of course, then the guys were like using it exclusively for not exclusively, but for 95, basically, because it was uh, kind of giving hope. And a lot of these structures where like white achieves A4, B5, and then like backwards C pawn.
Yeah.
Like this, Stockfish had no idea, but then okay, now it's completely different. Like Stockfish immediately understands, of course, that the potential danger for black as well. But yeah, this was an interesting time to. I mean, I really always enjoyed this part a lot, this analytical part, and then recently it's a lot less fun. Like last few
Yeah, I
years.
mean, we used to have this sort of scientific part of joy, yeah, where you kind of you don't only find an opening idea, but you also actually figure out what the best move is. Like it was not that obvious. Yeah, I mean, I remember like also so many things I was really proud of. Like this, let's say, this like mainline Catalan with the sequence 2 b5 a4 b4 this 95 c5 was found before the match, like so many things actually, which basically led Magnus to winning everything in 2019. Actually,
He
he was
beat him
playing
with
very well, but also like people would struggle to get out of the opening against him, even with white sometimes. But yeah, I remember like you could be so proud. I mean, you found some idea that Stockfish would be like screaming that it's bad, and you managed to overrule it. Yeah, it doesn't happen anymore simply. And also for me, it's actually like, I don't know about you, but for me, it's kind of weird because like in that sense, I'm sort of an older formation player. And for me, it's kind of hard to switch. Like I grew up as a player, like at the time when you could actually, like your opening ideas actually could be best moves. So this was the like normal routines that you look at some position and then you find some brilliant idea, and it is actually like at least just as good as the main line or sometimes even better. And now I have to admit, like I mean, I understand that mathematically it kind of makes sense to go like, I don't know, like whatever, one knight f3 b3 against someone or something like that. But like generally it's easier for some like 3 years old guys like Prague and so on, yeah, who basically came when there was no, like, the whole idea of like getting the like advantage objectively was very well forgotten. But we still remember this time, and for me it's kind of hard. Yeah, I mean, I want to play like a good move on move 1. I want to play a good move on move 2, and I remember the time where you could actually get a better position by playing like 20 best moves. Yeah, and yeah, for me it's kind of this is probably why actually, I mean, I almost do better with black, at least against strong players, because with black you can still find something like almost just as good that basically works, and you get the play on your own terms. Yeah, but with white I have to force myself to do something like really stupid that like exactly looks stupid. Yeah, I mean, I kind of understand that c4, e5, knight c3, knight f6, a3 is playable, but it's just that my hand doesn't want it. Yeah, I mean, I remember you can play normal moves, and yeah.
Approach change.
How how would you say the match and your cooperation with Magnus changed your approach to your career? Did it give you more motivation after the match, being a part of a winning team, or did it force you to change your priorities, or stir you to force your priorities in any way now that you're more like a coach or
Not
anything of that
really.
nature?
Not really. No, I would say what was really important is that actually I got to play a lot against Magnus. So if we talk about me, you should actually understand that, I mean, it feels like I have been there for like many years, sort of. Like maybe not there, but around. But I actually only played, like, I played 2 Grand Prix series. I played maybe a couple of Wikes. I mean, I didn't get to play too many games against the very best players. And actually, when I played them, it was not that I was like exactly crushed, but I basically, like, even now it's kind of hard to me to figure out like who is better, who is not better, if someone is better, then how much better is he, and so on. And yeah, back then it was like exactly this. Okay, like when Magnus played Fabio, I think I had a record of maybe, I don't know, 25 games against 27 plus 100 players. And yeah, of course, for me, just playing him and sort of like looking at the score, looking at the like tendency was very helpful, because like at least I sort of got an idea on where I should belong. And of course, it was like inspiring that I mean, of course, he's fantastic, but like I was not sort of getting crushed, really.